Have you ever experienced something so terrifying that it haunts you to this day? A moment that sends shivers down your spine just thinking about it? Well, brace yourselves because tonight we're diving deep into the darkest corners of the internet. Today, I'm sharing 6 bone-chilling, true scary stories from the internet that will keep you up at night. These aren't your average campfire tales. These are real people sharing their real encounters with the unexplained. We're talking about haunted houses, ghostly apparitions, mysterious strangers, and things that go bump in the night. Stay with me until the end because the last story is one you won't want to miss.
Picture this, a creaky old Victorian house, perched atop a hill overlooking the town. Locals would tell you to avoid it, claiming it was cursed, haunted, a place where shadows danced and whispers taunted the living. Against my better judgment, curiosity got the better of me. I convinced a couple of friends, and we set out one crisp autumn evening, armed with flashlights and a healthy dose of skepticism. As we approached the house, a cold shiver ran down my spine. The air grew heavy, like a suffocating blanket. The old house loomed over us, its windows like vacant eyes staring into our souls. We cautiously stepped inside, the floorboards groaning under our weight. The air inside was thick with the scent of decay and something else, something indescribable, yet undeniably eerie. As we ventured deeper into the house, we started noticing strange things. A child's toy moved on its own in the corner of a dusty room. Shadows seemed to flicker at the edge of our vision. And then there were the whispers, soft and indistinct, but definitely there. In the master bedroom, we found an old journal filled with frantic scribbles, a chilling account of a family driven to madness by an unseen force. As I read the final entry, a blood-curdling scream pierced the silence. It was my friend standing in the doorway, her eyes wide with terror. We fled that house, the screams of our terror echoing in the night. This story comes from a young woman named Sarah. She had always been skeptical of the paranormal, dismissing it as nothing more than overactive imaginations and spooky stories. That is, until she had an encounter she couldn't explain. It all started with a feeling of being watched, a prickling sensation on the back of her neck that she couldn't shake. At first, she brushed it off as stress, but the feeling persisted, growing stronger each day. Then came the nightmares. Vivid and unsettling dreams where she'd catch glimpses of a shadowy figure lurking in the background. One night, Sarah woke up suddenly from one of these nightmares. Her heart was racing, her body slick with cold sweat. As she tried to calm her breathing, her gaze fell on the antique mirror across from her bed. That's when she saw it, a face staring back at her from the mirror. It wasn't her own. It was the face from her nightmares. A pale, gaunt face with eyes that seemed to burn with a cold, malevolent light. Sarah was terrified. She couldn't explain what she had seen. This chilling encounter happened to a man named David while he was traveling alone, driving along a desolate highway. It was getting late, and David was eager to find a place to stop for the night. Just as he started to worry about finding a town, he spotted a dimly lit diner in the distance. Relieved, he pulled off the highway and into the near-empty parking lot. He stepped inside, the smell of stale coffee and greasy food washing over him. It was a classic roadside diner, worn booths, a cracked linoleum floor, and a jukebox playing a mournful country tune. A lone waitress, her face etched with weariness, looked up from behind the counter. "Just you?" she asked, her voice flat and monotone. David nodded, taking a seat at the counter. As he glanced at the menu, he noticed a man sitting a few stools down. The man was dressed in a dark suit, a fedora pulled low over his eyes. What struck David as odd was that the man seemed to know things he shouldn't. He'd make offhand comments about David's life, mentioning his hometown, his job, even the name of his childhood pet. As the night wore on, the man's comments grew increasingly specific, revealing details about David's life that even his closest friends didn't know. David decided to confront him, but just as he turned to speak, the man was gone. To this day, David can't shake the feeling that he had a brush with something truly unexplainable.
Chapter 4. The Creepy Cabin. Imagine this. A secluded cabin nestled deep in the woods, miles from civilization. It sounds like the perfect getaway, right? Well, for a group of friends, it turned into a terrifying ordeal they'll never forget. They had rented the cabin for a weekend of hiking, fishing, and escaping the hustle and bustle of city life. They arrived late at night, the headlights of their car cutting through the darkness as they navigated the winding dirt road leading to the cabin. As they stepped out of the car, the first thing that struck them was the silence. It was an eerie, almost suffocating silence, broken only by the sound of their own breathing. Unpacking their gear, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. As the night deepened and the temperature dropped, they built a fire in the old stone fireplace, the flickering flames casting dancing shadows on the cabin walls. They shared stories, laughter echoing through the otherwise silent woods, trying to ignore the growing sense of unease that had settled over them. That's when the noises started. At first it was just a soft scratching sound coming from outside, like claws on wood. They tried to convince themselves it was just an animal, but the sound persisted, growing louder, more insistent. Then came the tapping at the windows, a slow, deliberate tap, tap, tap that sent shivers down their spines. As soon as the sun was up, they packed their things and fled the cabin, leaving behind the terror of the night. Chapter 5, The Vanishing Friend. This story is about a friendship torn apart by a chilling disappearance. Two friends, Emily and Jessica, were as close as sisters. They shared everything, secrets, dreams, and a bond that seemed unbreakable. That is, until one fateful night that changed everything. They decided to go out for a night of dancing at a club downtown. The music was loud, the lights were low, and they were having the time of their lives, laughing and dancing the night away. As the night wore on, Emily noticed that Jessica seemed withdrawn, her usual bubbly personality replaced with a quiet anxiety. When Emily asked what was wrong, Jessica confided that she had a strange feeling, like she was being watched. Emily, trying to lighten the mood, dismissed her concerns, attributing it to the late hour and a few too many cocktails. They continued dancing, but Emily couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Later that night, Emily excused herself to go to the restroom, leaving Jessica at the bar. When she returned, Jessica was gone. At first, Emily wasn't too worried. Maybe Jessica had gone outside for some air, or maybe she had bumped into someone she knew. But as the minutes turned into hours and Emily couldn't find Jessica anywhere, panic began to set in.
Chapter 6, The Unseen Presence. This terrifying story centers around a young woman named Maria who lived alone in a small apartment. She was used to the quiet solitude of her own company, but one evening, everything changed. She was home alone, reading a book in bed, when she heard it, a soft, almost imperceptible sound coming from the living room. She put down her book, listening intently. The sound came again, a faint dragging noise, like something heavy being pulled across the floor. Maria's heart began to race. She lived alone, and she knew she hadn't left anything out of place. Cautiously, she got out of bed and made her way to the living room, her hand trembling as she reached for the light switch. The light flickered on, illuminating the empty room. There was nothing there. Relieved but still uneasy, Maria scanned the room, checking behind the furniture, under the table. But there was no sign of forced entry, nothing to explain the strange noise. She tried to shake off the unsettling feeling, attributing it to her nerves. She went back to bed, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. Every creak of the building, every groan of the pipes sent shivers down her spine. That's when she felt it, a cold spot directly above her, as if an icy hand.
So there you have it, 6 bone-chilling, true scary stories from the internet that will leave you sleeping with the lights on tonight. Which story chilled you to the bone? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more spine-tingling tales. And if you dare, share your own scary stories in the comments below. Who knows, your story might be featured in the next video. Until next time, stay safe and keep an eye out for the things that go bump in the night. Sweet dreams.